All right, go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, I'll start it out. So thank you again, folks, for having myself and Reenee on this call today and to explain what it is that we do, and especially here in Colorado, and how we got started in this thing. So I guess if there's a tagline to this presentation, it would be, quote, necessity is the mother of invention. And how we got to that is our very humble beginnings. As I mentioned earlier, I have a long career in the sales part of the waste and recycling industry. So sales meaning I would help companies recycle basically for the last 20 years. They'd call me in and say, gee, Lou, I have this plastic, this cardboard. So I'd always be fighting to take materials out of the waste stream and then come up with, systems to capture it and to get the best value for it. One of my stops, one of my customers was a county in New Jersey, Sussex County. And this county had a 250-acre on-site landfill, which was very unique. And not a lot of counties have landfills of their own. And I met Reenee Casapulla, and Reenee was the recycling coordinator in that county. And I would meet with Reenee periodically to buy her newspaper, buy cardboard, different commodities on the fiber side. And she said to me one time back in 2015, she said, Lou, how could we recycle styrofoam? This stuff comes into our drop-off center. And Reenee actually operates a premier drop-off center. It was featured in Waste Advantage magazine. She did everything there, from recycling American flags. So it's something to look at later on. But so she asked me about styrofoam, and I said, gee, Ree, I said, I recycle this material at large furniture companies, the Williams-Sonomas, the Restoration Hardwares. I put these machines in that densify it because styrofoam is made out of 98% air. So the trick is to get the air out, and the 2% that's left over is pure polystyrene plastic. It's very valuable and very recyclable. So how do we do this at a drop-off center that only has, well, it actually doesn't have buildings, like most don't. They're outside. They may have a compactor or two, got some electricity, but certainly no buildings to it. So we talked, got a little bit of that Shark Tank Yahoo moment there in me and started designing something. And she went back to her board after we come up with a concept, and she got this very conservative board that leads the landfill, 20 people, to say, hey, Lou's got an idea. He'd like to put it here to try it. And in doing so, Lou would spend the money for the system. We would just need to give him the location at the site, at the drop-off site to start it. And so back to necessity is the mother of invention. And that's how we started this. Fast forward a few years being on site, Reenee had won a Swanner Award for the system for pulling this styrofoam out of the landfill. We had a local college come down, a green team that did an extensive summer program there, researching foam's impact on a landfill, which was never done before, by the way. Because if you take a styrofoam cooler and you put it at a landfill and you run over it with one of these heavy duty trucks that they use at the landfill to compact, it dissipates. It doesn't reduce its size. It just goes to the left and right. So once again, we started there very humbly. We really wanted to get a secure background to this process and data before we moved on. So I guess we'll hit the next clip. What people don't understand is what we're calling styrofoam is really an incorrect name for it. The industry uses foam. So when we're talking about coolers, it's really just foam. Packaging foam and food service foam would be the two categories. Styrofoam used to be Dow Chemical. Now they sold it to DuPont, but this material is used as insulation boards in houses and businesses, and it's got a fire retardant chemical to it, which makes it problematic when recycling it through the methods that we're recycling it. And I'll explain that further as we go along, but it is recyclable. Just once again, not through this process. Okay, Ellie, next picture. So these are the two types of foam. We got packaging to the left, and we have food service foam to the right. And the state of Colorado has now decided that they are going to ban the use of food service foam. So good for them. And that'll take place next year. We've come across this in multiple states, including here in New Jersey. What we don't like to see, the problem with that is not the ban. It's just that folks think that because you ban food service foam, packaging foam magically goes away. And it doesn't. In fact, packaging foam has seen an uptick in its production ever since COVID, and ever since the Amazon effect. So more and more of this is coming through direct to consumer delivery than ever before. Food service foam is a very, very small portion of the foam that would be generated in a state. And it's unfortunate. Well, it's fortunate that they banned it, I guess, as long as you come up with an alternative that can be recycled, great. But we've set up programs in Pennsylvania and Florida and Wisconsin and Kentucky that has no state bans, and we very successfully recycle all types of food service foam. So it certainly can be recycled. Bans is what the state wants to do, so great. Just let's not lose the fact that it's, once again, really affecting things much, because I even believe egg cartons will still be produced in foam. There's a lot of products that are foam based that people don't realize. They just think it's a cup or a plate. Okay, next slide. And here's really the dilemma, right? These actual shots, drive around the community, you can see it. Somebody has a foam cooler and they say, and they play the game. Do I put it in the recycling bin? Do I put it in the garbage bin? You put it in the garbage bin, it's going to the trash. You put it in the recycle bin, it's going to go through the trash as well. It's going to take a different route. It's going to go through a single stream facility or somewhere that's going to wind up in the trash anyway. It's a very large, these are very large products, the foam. And, first of all, most bins now today, they seem to be getting smaller in sizes. The curbside bins from 96 to 64 gallon. There's no way you're fitting these things in there. And as soon as a compaction truck hits it, whether it's a front load truck or a rear load truck, everything that gets collected in compaction trucks. Those beads break apart, and those beads start flying all over the place. And those beads make it into your curb and into your waterway, and thus the problem that we're having with ocean plastics. This is a contributor, and it's a material that, on our standpoint, 100% has to be dropped off at a recycling center, just like other hard to recycle materials. So this is not unique. You're not going to put your TV in one of these bins. You're not going to put a tire or big piece of metal. So it just joins the family of so-called hard to recycle materials. Okay, next shot. And that's basically what the system comprises of. The bin to the right is the collection bin. And that's what people will see when they go to a drop-off center. Inside that bin are large poly bags that are removed when full and brought over to the container you see to your left and stored in half of the container. On the other side of that container, which you're not seeing in this picture, is the densifier machine. A high-tech machine, great machine. I've been selling them and dealing with this one company. They're made in Korea for 15 years. Just really terrific. It's metal that chops up foam that releases the air safely. And I say safely because everybody always thinks, or concerned that when you're chopping something and you're heating something, especially with plastic, that there's some sort of element of toxicity to that air, and it isn't. We've had it tested multiple times, actually. And then that would be the process. So that bin right there on your right acts as a spoken hub to the program, so to speak. You could put many towns. I one in New Jersey that bought 6 bins and put one at the train station, put one at the library. So you can use that as a collection point beyond the container itself that processes it. And then once the container is filled up, you send someone in there to process the material. It goes really quickly. Surprisingly so in every site that we've ever been at. Just can't, imagine how fast that you could process that foam. And it's, it's something that myself and Reenee really enjoy doing, because when we do set these things up, and we've set them up across the country, folks really get excited about recycling foam, as they should be. Okay, next slide. Reenee, you want to talk about this? Because that's actually your site in New Jersey.
So, yes, hi, everyone. So this is actually what the densifier looks like, and we don't necessarily have a video, but if you go on the foam cycle website, you'll actually see numerous videos of how the densifier works. If you can see right now, it's a small machine that you're able to feed the foam in, and it takes so styrofoam, as Lou mentioned, is 98% air and 2% pure polystyrene. Now, that's pretty impressive, and that's how you're able to get a 90-to-1 ratio of densifying this packaging foam. And one of the main questions we get when people ask us how this works, you see the big pictures of the foam, you know what the big chunks of foam looks like, the coolers, etc. But what does that look like when you have a 90-to-1 ratio? So, Allie, next slide. Well, this is what it looks like. This is a 90-to-1 ratio. What you're looking at there is a 125 cubic yard walking floor trailer that from my site, and just so you know, I've been retired a couple of years. I no longer work for the landfill in New Jersey, still very close to my heart. I did it for 16 years. And when I retired, I knew I still wanted to be involved in recycling, and FoamCycle has been a great way for me to challenge myself to talk about recycling. That's something that a lot of people have very contentious opinions on. So it's been an exciting endeavor. But when you look at this trailer, it's a trailer that hauls recycling all over. You've seen them yourself in Colorado. And we were able to put in loose packaging foam and then weigh it and come up with a weight that was 3,500 pounds full of loose foam. This was our way of trying to figure out, how do we measure volume? How do you measure impact of taking foam out of the landfill? There's not a measure that's really standardized out there in the industry. So when we started the recycling program, this is how we started. We densified it using the FoamCycle system, and it came to these 3 pallets that you're looking at. And if you look at the pallets, you'll see they're made of these square shapes. They're called ingots, and that's how you frame the foam as it comes out of the densifier. It's very heavy, dense, brittle, and it's a way of reducing the foam, and it saves a lot of valuable airspace. So this was our way of starting to measure impact. If you could go to the next slide, Allie. And then fast forward a few years later, FoamCycle, where we were the initial pilot program back in 2017 to now, the reason that you are all on this talk today is because we're now, we're in Colorado, and we have been for a while, and we have such great partners with sustainability, and sustainability in of themselves. They're really a champion for what they've been able to do as far as being a agency. They're not a municipality, they're their own agency. And I'll let Rachel talk a little bit more about what their agency is about, because I find them to be very unique. But we wanted to help. Once sustainability decided they already did foam recycling. Let's backtrack a little bit. They were taking their packaging foam in trucks to a recycling center where it was being densified. So as you know, in Colorado, the tipping fee is not the same as it is in New Jersey. In Colorado, the tipping fee is $35 to $40 a ton. And in New Jersey, it's $85 to $120 a ton. So maybe landfill tipping fees or landfill space is not necessarily a concern, though I know among this group it is, but trucking is a concern. So they were trucking this material, and then they learned about FoamCycle through the NextCycle Colorado Challenge, and through Recycle Colorado, we made the introductions, and they were able to go for a RREO grant, which is, this is a success story that they really should be applauded for. And they, once they got the system, they have gone gangbusters. If you look at that small picture there in the corner, that is their pallets of densified foam. And this report we prepared for them to help quantify the impact. This is now our new way of measuring impact, our progressive way. environmental impact is multifaceted. So for their 18,000 pounds of foam that they actually densified and recycled and densified in a 1-year time period, they saved over almost 14,000 cubic feet of landfill airspace, tipping fees, almost four tractor trailer loads of foam. And as a bonus, they also got an added value in marketing the material because it is very valuable material, no matter where you are in the country. And if you know the value of recyclables right now, which are, it is a up and down cycle. Right now, foam has always been a consistent value. So that's just an added value to the program. Next slide, Allie. So, Lou, you gonna come back up? Thank you.
Yes. Sure.
So, people always ask, okay, that's great, you're recycling the foam, but what happens to those ingots? What are you doing when you densify it? Well, the great thing about foam cycle and the approach that Lou has taken that we really run with, no matter what part of the country we're in, is that we look for a way to have that circular economy with our local programs. And one of the things that we have a couple of circular economy success stories that we're working on, but the one that we're very excited about right now that we want to share with you is that there is a company in Canada that is actually taking the densified foam and they are actually making insulation panels out of them. And those insulation panels are being used to insulate tiny homes in North Carolina. And I'll let Lou tell you that story.
Okay. Yes, this particular program started in North Carolina. There's a group, a nonprofit group there called Tiny Houses, and they build tiny houses for the homeless. It's a church-run group. Multiple churches are involved, and it's kind of like we always look at this, and it's the tail wagging the dog, so to speak. In Greensboro, North Carolina, the county doesn't recycle foam. It's almost like sustainability, tackling foam, where you say, gee, why isn't the county doing it? Why isn't Denver doing it? And so these tails are really almost like the mustard seed when it comes to these type of programs, and they're fantastic. So Greensboro decided that they wanted to recycle foam, met them a couple of years ago, helped them secure a grant for a densifier. And they've been shipping material out, almost full trailer loads, one every 6 or 7 months. And they're recycling every type of foam. They get a lot of egg cartons from all the churches. Everybody bakes down there in Greensboro or North Carolina in general. So one of the companies we connected them with, we don't make any money out of this. We just connected them with an end user, was a company called Supremer, or is a company, and they're out of Quebec, and they are a competition to the American Styrofoam brand. The difference with Supremer is 70% recycled material goes into their board, where the Dow Chemical Company uses 0. It's 100% resin, virgin resin. This is a recycled board, and not only is it recycled, but it can be recycled again. So if this board came out of a house, you could send it back to them. They'll grind it to make another board. The cool part is that my last trip down to Greensboro with the folks at Suprema, they flew down and we met with everybody down there. That's actually a gentleman who works building these tiny houses with one of the boards. And they will be getting their first shipment and trailer load of these boards to start lining the 20 or something tiny houses they're scheduled to build. So we have a circular economy program going there. And when I looked at Colorado, you folks have tiny house communities here and manufacturers here. Hopefully in the future, if we get more sustainability type programs going and we have more generation of foam, then maybe together we can, pool our resources to get this material to Canada and then back again, just like what's going on in Greensboro. Greensboro started their program. Henderson County, a county next door, saw what was going on, said, we want to recycle foam. We started a program there so that tiny houses not only does this work, but they actually buy the foam from Henderson County, store it by them till they have a trailer load, and then they could ship it up to Canada. Well, it wasn't only Henderson County. Then the University of North Carolina, Charlotte said, we want in. And now they're recycling foam at a college and doing a great job at it, sending the foam to Greensboro. Our now next trip is to Mecklenburg County in North Carolina, which has a 1 million population count. Probably one of the largest counties that have taken on foam recycling. They put 2 densifiers in. We're meeting there next week. The program is already going. You can Google it and see. They're having great success and to much great jubilation within that county that this program is happening. The material will be going to Greensboro and once again up to Suprema for these boards. So a lot of good things are happening in North Carolina because of that tail wagging the dog, so to speak. Sustainability, I believe, is that same tail that's going to happen in Colorado. And maybe with some of the folks on the call will get involved in this at some point. Okay, I think the next slide. So what not only are they leaders in what they're doing in North Carolina, but they've come up with this concept. We talked about it. It was a concept I would like to have introduced, but they started it. And what they started doing was building trailers. And these trailers are now being placed at businesses, a local hospital, at a small cost, almost more for the trucking cost of it. But this is how you spoke out this hub process. We always talk about the lopsidedness, so to speak, in Colorado, where you have the Front Range and 80% of the people live there. And how do you get recycling to the lower range where there's less population? As far in the recycling world of foam, this is how you do it. There's larger trailers to be had. They can be pulled by a regular pickup truck. And it's almost like if people are familiar with the whole world of garbage or recycling with 30-yard containers, there's a trucking fee. There'd be a trucking fee for this, no different, except we're not trucking to a landfill. We're trucking to where the material can actually be recycled. So great program there.
This is also just, I want to just mention that this is also very good for things like if you have an Earth Day program, or if you have like special events where you your organization is doing the foam recycling and you want to do outreach. This is a great way of having special days to be able to have drop-offs, so people can plan for it. It works very well that way.
That's true. That's true, Reenee. Okay, the next slide, and I believe this is just the last slide in this. And if anybody needs this presentation, we have a different one. It's a little bit more comprehensive. We also have an annual report that we put together as a capstone project through Penn State University. Reenee was helping this young gentleman put that a real interesting report we have, which shows all the sites across the country. Rachel and Sustainability participated in that report. And you could zoom into any one of the locations that are recycling foam and see what they're doing. And we're a small community. I think we have about 25 locations across the country so far. So we share information, best practices. It keeps getting better as we come across things that someone has happened to them or not, or just like with Greensboro, how they've taken the program and are educating us now on it. But we're talking about a price of about $80,000 for this whole system. And I always like to say it's probably the price of a Department of Public Works pickup truck at the end of the day. So it's not a great cost to this. Maybe not to some people. If you were in a state without a food service ban, there's something called the Foam Recycling Coalition, or FRC, that gives grants out to about up to $50,000. So I had gotten several folks in several states that grant allowance. So then on them, they came up with maybe $30,000 on their part, which they probably subsidized with different grants. And once again, we could delve into with this at any point if anybody's interested. We did have an interesting program start up in New Hampshire, believe it or not, in a little town. I wanted to just mention real quickly. It was only a 7,000 population town of Guilford, New Hampshire. All of these recycling programs, no matter where you go, it's the people that want this. These are almost outliers in a certain way, because this is not something to get involved in these programs. You really want to help the community you're in. Most people, Department of Public Works, don't get paid anymore when they put a new program together. It's a lot of work sometimes, So we always enjoy working with people that come to us and say they want to do it. You know, you can't solicit this and force anybody to get these kind of programs. But in Guilford, 7,000 people, they really wanted this program. There's rural communities all over New Hampshire. And so the program they put together was, we'll host a system, we'll make it a spoken hub, allow everyone from all of these other locations within almost 100-mile range to come in and bring their foam in. And the Recycling Coalition, former recyclers, saw that opportunity and awarded them the whole 50,000, when they usually look for population bases of about 50,000 to get the award. So a lot of good things happening with it. I think that's the end of the slide, right, Allie? Oh, Reenee, you want to close out?
Sure. And then after our presentation, you still may have a bunch of questions. I thank you for Allie or Liz for putting in our web page for in the chat, because you can go to our website. We have some great videos and reports for you to get a little more in-depth look at what the program is about, what the system is. But what I want to say to you first and foremost is, this is really we like to run a public-private partnership. That's how I came in. I came in on the public side. It's not easy to find good partnerships this way, especially in the area of recycling. It's always a challenge. There's a lot of transient businesses, and it's hard to see what is really sustainable. That's always been a word that I feel gets overused, but it is hard to find businesses that can last and support your active programs. I found for Foam Cycle, that is what we bring to the table. We bring our partnership to you, the agencies. We have all different types of programs that we can share with you. We fit many different business models, and I'd like to see if we could bring in Rachel at this point, so we can be able, when we go to Q&A, that people can understand how this can work for their businesses as it did for sustainability. So if Rachel is still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Lou.
We do a lot of emails. We don't get a chance to talk too much. So we did a lot in the beginning though, didn't we?
We did, yes.
Yeah. So if you could just talk a little bit about, what sustainability is, so people understand what your agency does, I think that would be helpful.
Sure, yeah. I think a lot of you guys know us and have been to our site, but for those who don't, we operate a zero waste center or a hard to recycle center in Arvada. And our goal is to provide education and resources for materials that can't be put in your regular recycling, things that can be reused, but not, necessarily easily for people. We want to be, this one-stop shop for recycling and reuse. And as part of that, we really listen to our customers, and we receive lots and lots and lots of emails every week from people requesting and demanding that we take certain materials. So we kind of have like this running list of like the most requested and demanded materials. One of those materials for a long time was styrofoam, which is why we added that to our list, or EPS, as Lou said, to use the correct term. And styrofoam was tough for us to bring on, because with the other arm of our business, half of what we do is the recycling side of things. And the other half of what we do is we employ individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we have about almost 100, like 90 something individuals with disabilities that we employ right now. And so for every material that we take, every position that we create, every sort of arm of the business, we have to keep in mind, is this going to provide jobs that create, is this going to create valuable positions for people with disabilities to be able to participate in the workforce and be a part of what we're doing. So With foam, it was just kind of, it was a little bit of, disaster is a strong word, but it felt like that sometimes for us, because it was so much collection and so much driving and so much packing. And we just quite frankly didn't have the time or the labor for it, which was something that we didn't really foresee, because we thought that's what we do. That's what we specialize, is having labor to do these kinds of things. And it was just overwhelming us. And so honestly, we were on the brink of figuring out, what do we do? Like, do we stop taking it? Do we limit it? So what we did was we limited it to, I think at the time it was like 10 pieces per customer, which was confusing because there's all different sizes of pieces and stuff, but there's no weight to it. So we couldn't limit it to a weight. So it was weird. Like, it was a tough thing to take. And it went from being something that was really hard, that nobody liked, that we kind of had these conflicts, communicating to our customers about how we could take things, the volumes that they could bring, all of this. It went from being that to being something that honestly is a joy. And it is something that is just a huge service to our community. And it is something now where people kind of hated unloading it and all of the labor associated with it, our staff. And now people, it's this kind of fun thing. So they get to use like this big cool machine, and they get to show customers are always really interested. And what is that? And like the graphics are like really readable and great. And so there's now like this sort of open door to education for people participating, people coming to our drop-off site and stuff, where we get to explain it. And they had thrown out a number of a volume that we had done, which is the numbers I provided them from one of our grant reports a while back. And now we're about 2 weeks ago, we were at like 14 tons. So we're probably closer to 15 now.
Wow.
Doesn't sound like a lot when compared to like compost or something heavy, but if you think about how much like weightless foam that is so much foam. And so it's been really cool for our community. It's really cool for our workforce. It's really been a win-win. And it's been something that we very much wanted to add, like for our own mission and our own goals of being this zero waste center and this one-stop drop. This is a really important thing that we wanted to add, and then we wanted to keep. And so this has definitely allowed us to keep our own vision going in a way that was sustainable. So that's been really cool.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. That's great.
Wow.
See, is that impressive? And us, actually, one piece at a time. Like that's the new thing that came from us getting ready for this this talk, was that 14 tons. That's a lot of pounds, and it's one piece at a time. That's how it's done. There's a picture right there of Rachel's staff, and one piece at a time. That's great.
And to speak to that, I like that message a lot, Reenee, because the people who come, we have customers who come with like one bag of recycling. We have people who come with a pickup truck full of recycling, and the people who come with like 2 pieces of foam from their Amazon box are just as thankful and like just as excited to recycle their foam as people who, load up a U-Haul and bring it in. And so it really is like the whole one piece at a time thing, like that really is just as valuable. And I think that people lose sight of that if it's not a large volume. Because, every drop in the bucket, it's a million drops make the ocean or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, great.
Yeah, that was
So
great. Thank you, Rachel.
So that's our presentation. We'd love to hear your questions.
Oh my goodness, that was fascinating. And I have a whole bunch of questions I was writing down. Thanks for letting me be off camera while I snacked during our snack and share. One of the big questions I have is in that slide where you talked about what the packages were. You mentioned that organizations can get marketing assistance. And could you speak more to what it said? It had a package, and then there were a number of like a la carte things that people could choose, and one of those things was technical and marketing assistance, and I was
Oh,
wondering
that's your price sheet. right?
and
Mhm.
on what marketing assistance means.
Mhm. Well, I'll just real quick, because the marketing part is, has always been my interest. People talk about marketing, but when you do marketing and recycling, it's a little bit different. I mean, you market your materials. That's one way of marketing. Another is helping to promote. And so what we've done to help with promote is we recently did, and Sustainability was involved, was prepare an annual report for all the foam cycle locations where you're able to have a direct link to every foam cycle recycling program that's active right now, how they promote it, whether they do. We have in Wisconsin. How do they do it, Lou, for Wisconsin? What's their big media push? TikTok.
They call it a foam dome, and they did some
Foam dome,
TikToks
right?
with it and stuff like
Right.
that. So,
And so we are able to, these are just some examples. So you're able to actually have literature from all the current programs that are out there that you're able to take advantage of to market it. As far as promoting through your own location, we have found that each of our locations have had their own motivation on promoting their programs. We were with some people yesterday who have been doing it for quite a while, and they've never done an actual promotion because word of mouth has been so active. They're worried about actually promoting it beyond that. But every one of our foam cycle locations do have something on their websites, and they have developed literature that we provide for that, if that helps you, Liz.
yes, and if I could just add, and this directed at Rachel, we did decide this year to actually build our mascot. So we want to know what size you are, Rachel, so you can get in this thing and jump around when it comes in. We'll send it to you. But I'm sure you'll fit it.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to share that.
No, you don't.
That's okay.
A lot of different
It's
levels.
okay. It was more to the point which we don't come with the costume, but I'll send it to you to use if you'd like. There's a character called the Foaminator that was trademarked by a company that makes the resin that allowed us to use the name, and it's we tried it at Reenee's. She had an Earth Day event, had a landfill one time, and we just showed pictures of it. And the little kids were like, they wrote thank you letters afterward with the Foaminator. So we figured, let's build this guy. And then we
So
can
who's going to build? He's going to build a foam mascot. If you want to talk about marketing, here, this is. He's serious. He's got people design people who are costume designers who are working on this right now. So next presentation, we'll have it.
No.
I know we're a
It looks-
small group, but any questions?
It
Yeah.
looks like Darla's got a question.
Curious if my camera's gonna work yet. I've been changing all the settings on my video and it's still not working. Lou and Reenee, I just want to commend you for this incredible work. Foam, polystyrene being one of the most toxic and taking the longest to break down in the landfills. It's a really important material for us to focus on capturing and getting out of the landfill. So thank you for all your efforts, and I'm really impressed with Foam Cycle. And if it was up to me, you would have locations all over, and hopefully we will have more locations in Colorado. And Rachel and Sustainability, thank you for pioneering, being one of the pioneers of recycling this product. I'm curious, I know that I see on your website that you do some sort of upcycling with the material. I see where it's made into picture frames and whatnot. Are there other end markets available, and where are they, and what are they, is my first question, and then I'll wait and ask a second one after that.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I know Reenee's dying to jump in on this one because in New Jersey, we have, I think, 7 locations, municipalities recycling foam now, and every one of them delivers their densified material to a company that's very unique here in New Jersey that actually makes they make picture frame moldings. So they take this foam that everybody sells them, they grind it, and they extrude it into these really beautiful moldings. Polystyrene moldings for this particular company, their biggest sale of that material is actually down in Florida, and it's used in the cruise ship industry. So somebody goes on a cruise ship and buys a piece of, buys a picture of any type, the frame around it will be polystyrene made by this company in New Jersey. They can't get enough foam. And just yesterday, myself and Reenee were there with 2 counties or 2 towns actually in New Jersey that are starting the program. And when anybody starts a program, we like to bring them there to show them who to sell the material to and what's done with it. And I got to be honest with guys, if we had finally somebody film it yesterday, so hopefully I could share that soon. But it really is a feel-good moment when you come out of there, because everybody is just ecstatic when they see how the material is made. And to these framing boards, those boards can be reground again. So we're hoping one day to come out with a picture frame under what's called the Better Frame name, where you would buy this picture frame, and if you ever stopped using it or didn't want it anymore, you could send it back and we could regrind it to make another frame. So that's an exciting next step with this.
We've had that, but we're very excited about
Yeah.
that eventually.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Darla, I have a note on that as well. We
Okay.
can't ship things across the country because we have a really small space, and we already have a couple items that we're like storing to send up or to save up semi loads to ship off. Like that's hard to send, 46 pallets somewhere. And we have found, we partner with just Direct Polymers up the road. And so even if places in Colorado or elsewhere couldn't, save up enough, or if they needed more direct income rather than saving up to send every 6 months or something, there are definitely smaller applications as well. And I won't speak for Direct Polymers about who they use, but they send to different various downstreams across the country, and we just combine loads with them, and it's as easy as that, and they pay really well. So it's been like a nice little income boost for us too.
That's great.
And to speak to what it can be made into, just quick, we talked about the cruise ship industry, the RV industry also uses this material. If you go to any kind of picture frame or a craft store and you buy these picture frames, take a look at the side view of that picture frame. If it looks like it's a plastic material, it's pretty much recycled polystyrene. That's, that is what they do now. That's what they do for large quantities. The company we were at yesterday, who makes these beautiful decorative architectural boards, they look for the material from other countries. It's a very valuable material. And besides that, like I said, we're working on our picture frame idea. Just think about the next time you're on a cruise ship, if you ever are. This was an example he gave us yesterday, the owner of the business. If the ship goes down, don't worry about a life preserver. Grab a picture frame because it'll float.
Sure. I'm still going to grab the preserver rate. Forget that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But another interesting thing that happened recently was I got approached by a young group of future engineers at the School of Mines here in Colorado, and I believe they're at the Boulder location. And we started talking. They were looking for substitutes to substitute polystyrene with other materials, and in our conversations, we spun it around to what better things can you make out of recycled polystyrene. And the future of that, like with other plastics, believe it or not, is going to come in the form of 3D printing. Eventually, you're going to take this material, grind it, maybe in your own house, and be able to print something out that can be used actually again. So that's hopefully the future is going to pan out with that. But the folks at Mines, the young people at Mines College, are looking into that as we speak. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know here locally that GFL, the Alpine Material Recovery Facility, did a pilot. They have a densifier, and they were collecting styrofoam through single stream, and I don't still know if there's any others. Are there any other MRFs or communities trying to collect this through single stream, or is it all separate drop off?
We visited the GFL site in Denver that was collecting it.
Mhm.
I can't speak to it, but no one else that we know of is doing it. And I
Okay.
know when they applied for a grant through that foam
Uh-huh.
recycling coalition, they had a grant for the densifier.
Mhm.
So once again, it's like anything else. It's a capture rate at that point.
Mhm.
You'll capture some. Do you capture all? When you drop off at Rachel's facility, you're capturing all.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that's the problem with single stream, as we all know, right? You're capturing some. We don't see too many films of what's going out the back door and where it's going. So that's
Mhm.
just my take on it.
Okay, good to know. I'm just where I'm headed. I mean, I have a lens that I'm looking at products through, which is producer responsibility. And with this being a covered product, a covered packaging product, subject to the new law in Colorado, I'm curious, do you have any connection with the producers of these materials? And are they thinking of perhaps a special assessment from the pro or their own individual program plan to increase that capture rate in Colorado?
That's a very good question. And I'll tell you what had happened. When we came out for NextCycle Colorado, Ree and I actually reached out to a company called ACH Foam,
Mhm.
which is in Bedminster
Bedminster.
okay. And because they have a couple of plants, they have a plant in Colorado where they make foam packaging. And we reached out to them and we started to have a great dialogue with them. And even Rachel was involved in some of the conversations. We were trying to prog them into, or encourage them to put some dollars into our first system there. In fact, we had gone to Longmont and to Loveland and spoke with the folks that are running the systems there. And we say, listen, how would you like to almost get a system for free? ACH, which now has sold to Atlas Molded Products, which is the largest group of companies in the country now producing foam, from everything from coolers to anything you can imagine on the packaging side. Because they're very interested in contributing. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Once again, NextCycle got caught short. The virus hit, and things got derailed, so to speak. But I think the law is going to be great in bringing those people to the table now who could have had a chance to do it before, but now are required to do it. And I almost think that they're actually going to, they're not going to fight it, so to speak. They're going to encourage it because I think at the end of the day, I was talking to folks that are working there that live in Colorado. They want to see this stuff recycled. So behind these corporations are humans and they're people and they live in your community and they want to do the right thing. So maybe this will actually force their companies and companies, as we all know, guys, they're not humans. They run off of profit and loss statements. We need laws like this to encourage it and to force them into it. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, any connections you can make, I'm happy to talk with them and
good.
kind of go over options and brainstorm solutions.
Perfect. Take you up on that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all my questions.
I don't want to hog the question space, and I know we're going to have to wrap this up shortly. So I'm stalling again to see if somebody else raises their hand. No. Okay, my next question is, Rachel, can you speak a little bit about how SustainAbility was able to secure the funding to stand up this foam recycle program?
Yeah, so we received all of the I'm trying to think of how much we matched. We didn't match very much. We got most of the funding through the RREO grant. And so, that included the money for the densifier and then also the money for like delivery and setup and training and all of that. So, and I know that they kind of roll that all into one price, which is nice. But all of that was pretty much taken care of through the grant with a small match. And, we are not a rich company and we wouldn't have been able to do it in foam. Like, although it's nice to have a little bump in income, like when you deliver foam, you're not going to get rich with our kind of volumes. Like we're not, you know, producing foam and having these huge payouts or something. And so it would have just taken us forever to earn that money back. And so the grant was really, really crucial in us being able to do that. And we are just so incredibly thankful for that. So, yeah, foam the Lou and Reenee were really helpful with pulling together those numbers and statistics and things like that in terms of like air quality and testing and stuff for the grant too. Oh, I think, are you on mute?
I am muted. Yeah, you'd think I'd have the hang of this after 3 years. Well, unless there are any other questions, I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the folks in the window. Carlene, I saw you. Carlene, I saw you came off camera. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just thought we were wrapping up, so I wanted to show
Yes.
my face.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, I want to say thank you very much to Reenee and Lou for making time, and to Rachel for being here, for putting together a presentation, for reaching out to our membership about how you might be able to help them expand their recycling services in wherever they are. And we will share this recording with our membership and hopefully generate some interest. Before we stop the recording, do you have any words? No?
Call us.
I like it. That's a great note. That is a great note to end on. So I'll ask Allie to stop the recording.